Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Congressman Will Timmons. Congressman, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me on.
I want to talk about big news that happened over the weekend. President Joe Biden pardoned his son, Hunter Biden, over the weekend, months after he was convicted on tax and gun charges. The move comes as a reversal, as you know, as the president and his administration has repeatedly said for months that they would not pardon the president's son. What do you make of the move?
You know, it was expected. I said months ago that he was clearly going to pardon him. Hunter Biden was never going to jail. We all know that he committed a wide variety of crimes, and many of which weren't even charged. So, I was not surprised whatsoever. But, it's just sad. Joe Biden's been in office for almost 50 years, and this is his legacy. This is how he's going to end his public service. We always knew he was going to do it. Why did he have to lie repeatedly? Why did his team have to lie repeatedly? I mean, you got dozens and dozens and dozens of examples where he said he would never do it. We all knew he was. We all knew he was. I just hate that he ended his public service lying for 6 months to the American people.
He said this in part of his argument that he hopes the Americans will understand why a father and a president will come to this decision. And a lot of the defense I've seen, I'm sure you've seen as well, when it comes to defending Biden, pardoning his son, has been, well, he's a father. Wouldn't a father do anything for their son? What do you say to that argument?
I agree, but why lie about it? I mean, he was always going to pardon his son. Like, there was never a question. I just don't know why he would lie about it. Well, I do know why he would lie about it. He would lie about it because he was planning to run for re-election, and he didn't want to sink in the polls even further. But there's not a father or a mother out there that would not pardon their child of criminal activity if they had the ability to do so. So, look, I'm not shaming him for pardoning Hunter. I mean, that's what a father should do for their child. But at the end of the day, he lied. He lied repeatedly, and that is going to be the end of his public service. 6-8 months of just lying through his teeth, knowing he's lying, but doing it anyway. And that's what's wrong.
I spoke with one of your colleagues, Congresswoman Victoria Spartz, earlier this week, and she said that this is going to be essentially a stain on his legacy. Do you agree with her?
Absolutely. I mean, look, the fact that his party forcibly replaced him at the last minute, the way they did, that was obviously not good for the way people will remember him. But this is far worse. This is far worse. And I hate it for him. But he probably should have said, "I'll figure out that when the time comes," or said, "I'm going to let the process run its course. We'll see what happens." Because at the end of the day, Hunter was not going to go to jail until end of the year. So he could have waited until the last few days of his presidency and then said, I've come to a decision. But instead, he just lied. He said he would never pardon his son. He would never pardon his son. He said it hundreds of times. And, this is the thing. Your reputation matters, and if your word matters. And his word is now meaningless, and it causes people to appropriately question everything else he said. It's sad. It's a sad day for the Biden family. It's a sad day for Joe Biden's legacy.
Congressman, you and I spoke back in May of 2023, and the topic of conversation was actually Hunter Biden. Again, back then, you and I spoke about the House Oversight Committee's investigation into the president's son, as well as the Biden family's business dealings. One of your colleagues earlier this week, Congressman Tim Burchett, told me that he expects President Biden to pardon more of his family members. Do you agree with him? Do you think that we're going to see more Biden family members pardoned?
He needs to pardon Jim Biden, for sure. He needs to pardon his brother. After that, I don't think there's a lot of people that have culpability. The Oversight Committee did an incredible job investigating all the different financial transactions. And, I can assure you that the Department of Justice will be doing the same thing going forward. So it wouldn't surprise me one bit. The thing I'm upset about is that they're talking about pardoning the members of Congress that were engaged in the January 6th investigation. At the end of the day, the manner in which that committee conducted itself and the way that they leaked, they selectively leaked documents. I mean, it was a total abuse of power. I'm sure many laws were broken during that process. So, I mean, if President Biden's going to pardon a number of other people associated with that investigation. I mean, how low can they go? It would be a very sad day for this country. And I guess the other thing is we haven't talked about the scope of the pardon for Hunter. The scope of the pardon for Hunter was overly broad. And, it wasn't for crimes charged, indicted. It was for everything. So, I mean, I think that there's still going to be appropriate investigations to a number of those issues. And, I mean, we'll see where those facts lead. But I think the shocking part for me was not that he pardoned his son, not that President Biden pardoned his son, but the manner in which he did it and the degree to which he did it.
Let's talk about that scope, because it's a full and unconditional pardon. It covers 2014 to December 1st, 2024. And an expert told Politico that aside from the Nixon pardon, they've never seen a pardon this broad. What do you think that indicates?
The scope of his criminal activity. I mean, I think that the Department of Justice chased what they were allowed to chase. And I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff out there. I mean, some of the tax fraud that the Department of Justice allowed the statute of limitations to lapse. I mean, you just got a lot of different crimes that were not charged. I mean, he was a foreign agent and he was not registered. There's dozens and dozens of crimes. But this is the other thing. He was only pardoned for federal crimes. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of states attorneys general get involved, and I mean that's what the Democrats would do. That's what we saw in New York. That's what we saw in Georgia. President Biden can only pardon federal crimes. State charges are still fair game. So we'll see what happens there.
Do you think we're going to see that, or do you think this effectively closes the Hunter Biden chapter? The country moves on. We focus on other things like the economy, things like that. Or do you think when Donald Trump gets into the White House, all bets are off and there's state investigations into Hunter Biden?
I think that we're going to pursue the truth. The FBI has a lot of rot within it. And so we're going to try to see if the FBI was colluding with the IRS. We're going to try to see if the Department of Justice was leading some sort of a cover-up. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but if it is, you go see charges. If somebody at the Department of Justice was pulling the strings and colluding with the FBI and the IRS to conceal criminal activity, people will be held accountable. And I think that's what they know, and that's why there's so much concern right now. I don't think that there's any precedent for the blanket pardons that would be necessary. But I mean, just the manner in which the lawfare was engaged in against President Trump, the double standard that the American people saw, that they said this is not right, and that's why he won the popular vote. That's why he won every swing state. That's why he switched to 11 points in New Jersey. So I mean, the American people saw through the insanity from the left, and they're ready for a new day. And I don't think there's going to be retribution per se, but as we uncover criminal activity, it has to be addressed, because we can't have this happen again. We cannot have it happen again. That's the number one thing.
Trump ally Kash Patel has been nominated for FBI director. He, in so many words, has promised retribution, and Politico was reporting that with that nomination, the White House is talking about preemptive pardons. As you mentioned, some of those names being floated are Senator-elect Adam Schiff, former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, and Anthony Fauci. What do you make of that news?
I disagree with the interpretation that Kash Patel said that there would be retribution. He said that he will seek out wrongdoing and appropriately charge criminal and civil liability and penalties accordingly. So again, do we know where to look? Yeah. So we're going to look, and we're going to see what's going on, and we're going to get to the bottom of it. But I mean, that's not retribution. If people broke the law, they need to be held accountable. So I have no problem with that. And look, he's got the experience, he's got the education to accomplish the job, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job at bringing. And this is the most important thing. He has to bring credibility back to the FBI. We have to bring credibility back to the Secret Service. We have to restore the trust in the Department of Justice. We have to restore the trust in government, and that's what we're going to do. And wherever wrongdoing has occurred, if crimes were committed, they will be appropriately addressed. But we're not going to sit here and say, all right, we're going to find something to charge this person with. And that's what the Democrats did. That's what Democrats did. So they're afraid of the Trump administration doing what Democrats did. No, we're just going to seek the truth. And where wrongdoing was occurred, we're going to take appropriate measures to make sure it doesn't happen again.
So then, to that point, what do you think it shows that there are these alleged or reported conversations that Liz Cheney might be up for a pardon, Adam Schiff, Anthony Fauci? What do you think that indicates?
One would think that it could indicate that there was collusion at the highest level of government in criminal activity to try to maintain power within the Democrat Party. I mean, that's if more pardons come, that's what that means. So, but again, just because they can't be held accountable because they're pardoned doesn't mean we can't show the American people the truth. So, yeah, Hunter Biden is not going to jail because he's been given a blanket pardon, and that was a legal act. It was perfectly acceptable within the scope of the president's authority. If he chooses to pardon other people, great. We're going to uncover whatever it is they did, and the world will know, and the world will understand why those pardons occurred, and the truth will be out. And that's what's important, because again, the most critical thing about all of this can never happen again.
Congressman, Republicans like yourself have been pretty united in criticizing President Biden pardoning his son. Democrats have been split, but some have criticized the president as well. One of your colleagues, Congressman Steve Cohen, implored colleagues from both sides of the aisle to support a constitutional amendment that he introduced in previous Congresses that would limit the presidential pardon. And it would, quote, I'm going to quote what he said on this, eliminate pardons for the president's self, the president's family, administration officials and campaign staff, and those who commit crimes on behalf of, for the benefit of, or at the direction of the president. All instances with inescapable perceptions of conflicts of interest. The amendment also clarifies that no pardon issued for a corrupt purpose, past, present, or future, is valid. Is that something you support?
I have not heard that proposal. It doesn't seem unreasonable, but it's also something that would never happen. A constitutional amendment to do that. Yeah, we got a lot of problems facing this country. If a president wants to stain his legacy, if a president wants to uncover his complicity or the people around him's complicity in wrongdoing, that's not at the top of my priority list. I'd rather get a term limit amendment and make sure we don't have career politicians running this country. But I don't think it's a terrible idea, but I also don't think it's at the top of the list.
My last question to you, Congressman, is what precedent, if any, do you think this sets?
My biggest thing is that it just confirms the American people's kind of perspective, their perception of the Biden administration. Joe Biden has not been running this country. The way that the Department of Justice, that the New York Attorney General, that the DA in Atlanta all engaged in lawfare, weaponized government, the American people kind of saw through it. They saw through it. And so this is just confirmation. And if there are other pardons coming, and they're probably going to be similarly written in such a broad scope, I just think it'll be even further confirmation. And again, the pardon ends criminal and civil culpability at the federal level. It doesn't stop the Department of Justice, next Congress, next 4 years, to outline, highlight, reveal the truth. All of this is designed, all of the goals of the next administration is to show the American people the truth and help save our country and make sure that the actions taken in the last administration never happen again. And I couldn't be more excited to be a part of it. This is going to be my 7th year in Congress, and I have a lot of friends in the administration, and we have unified government. The sky's the limit. A lot of work to do. Can't wait to get to work.
Well, Congressman, as your next term kicks off, I hope you can come back on and join me for many conversations. Thank you so much for coming on. You're welcome back anytime.
Great. Hey, thank you for having me.